Roland, I want to go to you first. This poll just came out. It says a majority of Americans think that the Republicans will control Congress after Tuesday's midterm. It also said a survey indicates that the majority of registered voters say they are more likely to vote for a candidate who opposes President Barack Obama. Is this midterm election a referendum on the Obama presidency, Roland?
Well, look, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you look at what took place in 2008, what is happening in 2010. It is his agenda that Republicans are focusing on, that they're saying that Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, she pushed through. So there's no doubt. I mean, we can't sit here and act like it's not the case. 2006, when Democrats took control of the House and the Senate, it was a referendum on President George W. Bush. That's the way it goes. When you're the big dog, the commander-in-chief, head of the Democratic Party, that's what happens.
Okay, Ed. 34% of those questions say the country will be better off if the Republicans win back Congress, with 28% saying the country will be worse off and 36% saying it won't make a difference here. Those numbers are pretty close. There's nothing distinct there.
They're not good numbers. This is not necessarily a positive vote or a Republican vote. In 2008, people went out and had a positive vote for Obama. They voted against Bush, but they voted for Obama. In this particular case, Republicans are the vehicle to change. People want change. They don't like the Democratic leadership. They're disappointed in the president. They really don't like Nancy Pelosi, as you can tell by the poll. They really don't like Harry Reid, including the people back home. So Republicans will have an opportunity, and they will be judged by how effective they are and how effective that they can move any kind of a different agenda. Mm-hmm. If they become part of the problem and the people don't think that they're doing an effective job, a year from now or 2 years from now, they'll be in as much trouble as the Democrats are today.
And, John, has the Tea Party set a precedent here? Because if the Republicans do take control of both the House and the Senate, and they don't live up to the ideals of maybe what the Tea Party thinks, or this electorate that's supposedly angry out there, then they will be tossed out as well.
Well, there's no question that the Republican establishment should not take the Tea Party for granted. And the real issue here is fiscal discipline. If Republicans in Congress approach this election as a reminder that they lost their way on fiscal discipline when they had control of Congress under Bush, and that is their clear responsibility, cut spending, reduce the deficit, reduce the debt, then I think they can keep on to not just the Tea Party folks who are conservative populists, but also many independent voters. If they forget that lesson, or if they block serious attempts to reduce the deficit or the debt, then I think they've got some problems. The other thing, did they act like they're Trojan horse for social conservatives? Because the libertarian rhetoric's what's driven a lot of people to the Tea Party to date.
Yeah. You know, everyone is comparing this. A lot of people...
Don,
go ahead, Roland.
Yeah, well, we also can't overlook some critical issues, and that is we talk about the deficit, but the reality is when you have candidates who are saying they're not going to touch Medicare, not going to touch Social Security, they won't touch national defense, I mean, you don't have really much else to deal with. Also, immigration reform has to be on the national agenda over the next 2 years. So the question will be, if the Republicans take control of the House, will they deal with that particular issue as well? And so it's not just a question of the economy and the deficit. There are some serious issues that leadership has to deal with and that Democrats or Republicans are going to have to contend with.
You're talking about the House and the Senate, but what about the president, though? What about how will the president have to adjust as well?
A missing element in all of this is the country still likes the president. Yes. Many people are disappointed in the president, but they don't think at this point in time he's a leader. In 1982, when Ronald Reagan lost 26 House seats in the midterm, no one didn't think he was a leader. He had fired the air traffic controllers. He stood up to the Russians. He'd rebuilt the country, the defenses of the country. He'd cut taxes. He was unpopular because the economy was unpopular. But he was able to come back. He had never lost his base. And the whole time the people said, he's a leader. I may disagree with him on some things. And over time they started saying, well, you know, I really do agree with him. Right now, this president has not measured up on the leadership.
And, Don, that's one of the reasons why when he allowed the Democrats to take control of the stimulus package, there was a lot of pushback. People said, we don't trust Congress. And so many of us thought that he was going to say, you know what, let me control health care. But he didn't. Put it right back in the hands of Congress.
He didn't control the message. He let other people control the message for him. He let the Democrats.
It's not just the message.
He let the Republicans and the Tea Partiers control the message, especially on health care.
But Don, it's not just messaging. It's also you have to control the policy and the messaging. Because, again, Congress is trusted less based upon the polling numbers and even the president. And so by doing that, it got into gridlock, back and forth, Democrats and Republicans, and it looked like he wasn't owning up or controlling the issue.
I understand that, Roland. I understand what you're saying, but when it comes to now, even so, no Democrat, I don't know one Democrat that's running on health care. And if you ask anyone, Republican or Democrat, there are some very good things in the health care bill. So part of it is about messaging. I know that, John, you want to get in there real quickly. Go ahead.
Don, you're making an important point, which is that you're always in a better position if you play offense rather than defense in politics, just like in sports. And the best closing argument should be one that plays offense and owns some of the actions of this Congress rather than just being in a defensive crouch, which many Democrats are. This is not, Roland's right, this is not a messaging problem overall. This has to do, I think, number one issue is it has to do with Democrat control of Congress. This is a referendum on unified Democratic control of Washington, and especially in a time of economic anger, when people feel that there's been ideological and legislative overreach, this is the backlash.
Okay, listen, real quickly, because we're running out of time.
What kind of a message is when you're talking about driving a car in the ditch?
Yeah, okay. Especially, I want to talk to you about this, Roland.
A lot that he's accomplished. Some I may disagree with, but he ought to be out talking about those things and the long-term good of the country.
Okay.
As opposed to, they drove the car in the ditch. We're not going to give him the keys back. John Boehner's a bad guy. The Republicans are a bad guy. What about his proposals?
Yeah. It does seem to be playing a little long on the Americans' ears.